Hi, welcome to Inge's Knitting Lab Along in this series on how to make the lacy cable tee. In this episode I will show you how I pick up stitches here at the diagonal back seam to start making the front shoulder pieces. I will use what I call the plant fiber pickup method as opposed to the woolen method that I used for the tree trunk sweater. I guess it was episode 5 in the tutorials on the other channel. But why even bother having two different methods here? Yeah, well, let's have the overview. I use different methods depending on the properties of the yarn I'm using. So whether or not I'm using 100% woolen fiber, being very elastic like the one I use for the tree trunk sweater, or I use a plant fiber yarn not being very elastic like the one for the lacy cable tee. And the same thing accounts for the Mohair Edition not being very elastic either. A bit more than the 100% pure plant fiber yarn, but not as the woolen fiber. And this is both due to the mohair content as well as the plant fiber yarn used. So these differences in the properties, being elastic and non-elastic, will play out differently when we start wearing our garments. And we may start experiencing that changes occur in our garments. And depending on the properties, they will be different. So we have to attack these differences in different ways. When we start wear and tear, as I call it, there are different focus areas in the constructions which may have more stress or strain to create these changes. So let's get our focus back to the European shoulder construction and the strain and stress which may occur here. The changes you may see here at this location is the seam giving in for the strain, so to speak, and the movement of the arm and the shoulder, so that you will see these picked up stitches here. The first row will elongate and seem longer than the other ones, and it seem loose, and you can see the difference. So to sum it up, this change is due to 1, the elasticity, or rather the inelasticity of the yarn, 2, the pickup method you use, and 3, how loose you do the pickup. So of course we will do everything we can to prevent this from happening while making the design, but also while working our project here. So let's now look at the difference between the woolen method and the plant fiber method, so that you in the future can pick the method appropriate for your specific project, elastic or inelastic. For both methods, we pick up stitches between the 3rd and the 4th edge stitch here. So we will find the space between the stitches here, here, here. And also common for both methods is that we will pick up a stitch for each row that we have knitted here for the shoulder. And this is where this permanent marker comes in handy, because we marked it here where we end the pickup, so we will not pick up stitches here at the shoulder after the stitch marker. So that's the purpose of this one. So that was what is the same. So let me now show you the difference. So when I find the space between the 3rd and the 4th here, you will see, maybe I can make it bigger on the screen, but you will see these holes here. So if I place my needle here in between and you look here at the edge, it will create a nice chain here. It looks like almost a crochet chain. So in the woolen method, I go down these holes between the stitches and I just pick up the yarn. I go down the next hole, pick up, So in the plant fiber method, instead of going down the hole here, picking up the stitch, I will knit the stitch because I want it to be more tight in order to avoid strain and avoid, yeah, maybe I cannot avoid the strain, but I can avoid that the strain will create holes in my finished garments. So instead of going down the hole, I pick up the bar that is the strand between the stitches, and then I knit it. And in order for me to do so, I use a crochet hook as a helping aid here. Down below, grab the yarn onto the needle. Let's see, let me make 4, then we can have a comparison to see if there's something to what I'm saying. Here you are. So the last 4 here is the plant fiber method. Now I will give strain to the project, and you will now see the difference. Here where I use the Woollen method, you will see the holes. So when I strain, when I apply force on this to kind of resemble the strain when wearing your tee, you will get these holes here at the border. However, when I do this plant fiber method knitting the new stitch, you can see here I'm pulling, but there are no holes. And that's a very good thing about it. So let's look here at the back side to see the difference. So these ones were the Woollen method, and you will see here that on the back side you kind of create this chain here looking like a crochet chain. But when you look over here, you can see the purl bumps here because I knitted the stitches with the plant fiber method. So this is why I do it in a different way. Let's compare the Mohair Edition to the plant fiber edition over here. I have used exactly the same pickup method, being the plant fiber method here as well, even though this is not 100% a plant fiber project, exactly because I added the mohair. But this is also exactly why I did it, because mohair has kind of the same properties when it comes to elasticity. It is not very elastic, and when you start making strain here at this point, it may elongate and create kind of the same changes in this area. This is why I use the same method. However, when using a mohair, it is more forgiving because this lovely fuzz and halo look to it will kind of disguise any unevenness and kind of fill in the blanks, so to speak. So it is very forgiving, just like a Woollen project. When you work a plant fiber project, it is, I call it a bit more naked because it doesn't have the halo covering, or making the disguise. And also, of course, color is at play here. The lighter the color, the more easy you will see unevenness, and the darker the harder it is. And if you have tried making a white project, you will know that it is the hardest color at all to have look very even when you knit it. Let's move on. I will unravel these again and show you how to start this section of the pattern. I have worked the number of rows needed for my size, and as you can see here, I have worked 4 more rows after the permanent marker. So now this one comes in handy, guiding me where to pick up the stitches, because I will not pick up stitches after the stitch marker here in either side. But first I will turn my project 180 degrees, so now it is in my new knitting direction going this way. So I will start with the right hand side being the right shoulder when worn and end with this one. And again I will start picking up stitches right here at the stitch marker and leave these be, because this is the number of stitches I need to give me the width of the shoulder. So which one is the first and which one is the last, because we know that we pick up a stitch for every row we worked. And here it is easy again, because we have the stitch marker. So I just place down the needle here in the hole beside the marker, and the first bar is this one. The last bar you will find here at the cast on end, and here you see the strand, the cast on strand. This is not the one. The last one is the bar just before the cast on edge. So now I just need to do the number of pickups as called for in the pattern for my size. I will do the first couple ones slow, so you can see how I do it again, and then I will try to get more speed on the process, so you can see that even though I said it's a bit slower than the woolen method and a bit more tedious, you can practice to get more speed, so it's actually the same thing. If not, I would say your efforts will be fully rewarded when you look at the finish in detail of your project, and after you have worn it a couple of times. Yeah, so this was number 1. And again, the first number of stitches I can do without the crochet hook, because it hasn't tightened up as much yet. But in my experience, I can get these first 4 to 6 stitches, and then I need the crochet hook. Let's see. So I have made 5. Let's see if I can do one more without any problems. I could. I have to make sure not to skip a row. So I look where the strand, the working strand, comes up from the hole. This is where my crochet hook goes down and under the in-between strand here, between the 3rd and the 4th edge stitch. So now I place it on here. I go down, pick the strand, knit it, and up again. Down here, pick the strand on the needle, and then I use my left pointing finger to pull it tight. And I find it important that I pull it tight, not too loose here, because again, then we will give the yarn the possibility to stretch during wear and give us possible problem areas, and we don't want this. Yeah, I think when I'm working alone without the camera, it goes a bit faster, but I think you get the idea here now. So I will just work the rest here, and let's meet up on the other side and look at the result when picking up the stitches. I have now picked up the stitches for each row. So before I continue working the front shoulder piece, let me just make a small quality check. So first of all, I look that I have the number of stitches I need according to pattern. So I count the number of stitches, it seems right, but I also look if I have somehow skipped a row. And I see this by the evenness of the stitches on the needle. And look here, it seems as if I may have skipped one here, doesn't it? Let's have a closer look. Ah, well, it seems as if when looking at it, that my loops here was higher. I knitted this row somehow looser than the other ones. So, well, this is why. So I didn't skip one stitch, there's just more distance between the rows here. So I can adjust this by pulling the strings here and make the tension even here. I will do this afterwards, but it's nothing to do with the pickup. So the next quality check is to see if I somehow was inconsistent in the way I pick up stitches, and by old habit took the Woollen method instead. And I see this by looking at these purl ridges here. So if I have a purl ridge all the way through, then I can see that I knitted the bar between the stitches, and it's the plant fiber method. Check. So that's also okay. So now I look at the loops, and I look at the loops in two ways. So first of all, I look that the loops have the same size kind of on the needle. So if I have picked it up in the same way, we look again at the wrong side. So it should slide evenly on the needle here. It seems as if those in this end are a bit looser than these ones. So I will again pull a bit here and even out the unevenness, because now that I've spent much effort in doing a tight pickup, I don't want it to be spoiled by a loose first row here. Then we would have the same problem. So that was one check with the loops. And the next check is to see that I have been consistent in picking up the stitches, in the sense that I have the legs pointing in the same direction. And here it seems as if it is the front leg pointing first here on the needle, which I need with my knitting method. However, this one seems to be the back leg. So it's just that I notice, I did it backwards, so to speak. So when I knit the first row, I pay attention to the legs on the needle, and I just work it accordingly so that they will turn out the same way again. So with my knitting style, I have the front leg here turning this way because I knit here in the front leg. Yeah, so that was 4 or 5 quality checks here before starting. So now I will just turn my work. Yeah, I have turned it, and I will just grab the needle here from the back piece and continue. So let me work here 4 rows here, and we can try pulling this one and see what happens. I have now worked the first repetition here, and you can see no holes. I can pull very hard, and it's not possible to create the holes here. So I'm happy, all good. I can now continue finalizing this front shoulder piece, and then I will walk on to the other shoulder piece, and we will not do this together. I will just show you the first and the last stitch. So again, the first one is not the base of the cast on here, however the bar right next to it, and the last one is the one giving us the hole here beside the marker here, this one. So happy knitting with your front shoulder pieces. Let's meet up in the next episode to solve the next pickup mystery here, when we define the shoulder cap and where we connect the front shoulder pieces with the back. Bye bye, Roger and Noah from Inge's Knitting Lab. Bye bye.